Welcome to something to talk about.
Hi, welcome to Something to Talk About. My name is Taco, and I'm here to talk about the difference of Doreah. Yeah, this is pretty excited actually for Doreah. So this is a character who's going to be following Dany pretty much all the way through the first book. So if you don't know what's going on here, here you can pause this, read this, right? Definitely spoilers for the Game of Thrones show and for the A Song of Ice and Fire book series. And yeah, so if you don't want to be spoiled, I literally cover every single thing about this character, show, and book. So yeah, I'm going to cover just Lys, because she's from Lys, and I never get to explore Lys. And then I'm going to cover the show version of Doreah and the book version, and then the differences. And there's quite a lot of differences. It doesn't go the same way. So I'm pretty excited. And yeah, I believe this is a request, isn't it? Yeah, Efren T. Efren T. I always say Efren. Efren? Maybe it's not even a Rin. Just Effin T. There you go. Effin T. Thank you. I will talk more about how this is a request later, but I just want to say it now. All right, let's talk about Lys. So Lys, known as Lys the Lovely, is one of the 9 free cities of Essos. It is a small city clinging to rocks surrounded by stormy seas. The city lies off the coast of the disputed lands to the southeast of Tyrosh and to the west of Volantis. The mercantile city is Lys is built on a fertile island considered a paradise by Valyrian dragon lords. The sunny island is fertile with palm and fruit trees and surrounded by blue-green waters are filled with fish. Lys is protected by high walls and hired sellswords. A city dominated by wealth rather than by birth. Lys is where trade is considered a profession more honorable than arms. The city is known for its pillow houses and pleasure gardens. Those are just brothels. I don't know why they have fancy words for them. Temples and shrines can be found in the streets and waterfronts of the city, including the Temple of Trade, the Temple of Yandros, and the Red Temple of R'hllor. Yeah. All right, let's get into book stuff. So I got 3 slides for book. Book of Doreah. In the television adaptation in Game of Thrones, Doreah is portrayed by Roxanne McKee. Roxanne McKee. Red light. Doreah is a bed slave in one of the pleasure houses of the free city of Lys. Doreah was sold into the pleasure house by her mother when she was 9 years old. She didn't touch a man until 3 years later. After that, however, in the following year, she was instructed in the art of seduction. She spent 15 years there before she was bought by Daenerys Targaryen as a wedding gift for Daenerys. Doreah tells Daenerys a story of the origins of dragons. Yeah, so this gets quoted quite a lot. The dragon origin, right? She says that trader from Qarth told her that dragons come from the moon, and the moon is an egg, that there used to be 2 moons in the sky until the second moon wandered too close to the sun and cracked open, spilling 1,000 dragons into the world, and they drank the sun's fire. Her story is dismissed as nonsense by Dany's other handmaids, Irri and Jhiqui. By the way, we're going to be talking a lot about Irri, Jhiqui, and Doreah. They're like kind of like the 3 stooges for Dany in the first book. Well, actually, 2 of them live on, but yeah. Who say the moon is the sun's wife. It is known. Dany dismisses the others and asks Doreah why the trader from Qarth told her that, and she says, men like to talk when they're happy. As in, after you bang them, they get chatty, which is probably true. I'm always chatty, though. Dany asks Doreah advice on how to make Khal Drogo happy, so Doreah tutors her in the sensual arts. She also shows Daenerys how to use her sexuality to establish herself as someone worthy of Drogo's respect. Yeah, you guys know the scenes. I don't need to. I don't need to explain it. This is early, this is good Game of Thrones. This is early Game of Thrones stuff. It's good stuff. So show bath with Viserys. Doreah pleasures Viserys in the tub, and they talk about dragons. And she asks about his dragon blood and how she heard that brave men killed dragons, and he corrects her that the brave men didn't kill them. The brave men rode them. Fantastic performance. I love this scene, honestly. I'll talk about it more later. Sorry. I always film this like right after I cannonball lunch. Like I spend the entire morning writing and filming shorts. And then I stop, do chores, get lunch. And then after I like cannonball lunch, I'm like, all right, I'm going to go film a bunch of vids. So I'm sitting here like, I'm just digesting food. Chicken, by the way. All right. So yeah. Where was I? The brave men rode them. She tells him that she always wanted to see a dragon because they can fly and kill things, and it then pours wax on him, which, yeah, I mean, if you're into it, I'm not. I just like waxes for candles for smell, not so much being poured on my chest. She tells him what she has seen, and she once saw a man from Ashai with a dragon glass dagger, a man who could change his face like clothing, and a pirate who is covered in gold. So a lot of people assume the people who can change their face, of course, are like Jack and Agar, the faceless assassins, and then the guy who just covered in gold would have been Celador San, is what one thing I saw, right? Viserys tells her that the dragon skulls on the Red Keep, tells her about the dragon skulls on the Red Keep, and then he gets all hot and heavy. And then when she asks what happens to them, it reminds what happened to the dragon skulls. It reminds him of the destruction of his house. And then he gets pissed and he asks why he even bought her. And it's a horrible sentence. And she said to teach his sister like the acts of love. And he's like, why do I care about my sister being good at the acts of love? Like, so she can please Khal Drogo. And then he calls her a pretty little idiot, which is very mean. And then he forces her to finish the pleasure in silence. And that is assault. Bad touch, Viserys. Don't worry. He dies. Daenerys sends Doreah to invite Viserys for a meal. And he takes umbrage with being commanded by a slave and beats Doreah. God, I try to stay upbeat, and then I just read this stuff, and I'm like trying to be like, and then he beats the crap out of this girl that we bought. Jesus Christ, Viserys, what's wrong with you monster? Yeah. So yeah, he beats the crap out of her and then drags her through the camp to confront Daenerys. Viserys' temper, inevitably, inability. There we go. His temper and inability to control his sister lead him to confront Drogo. Doreah stands protectively in front of Daenerys as Viserys threatens to kill her if Drogo does not deliver his promised crown. Drogo feigns why do I use words I can't say? He's acting like he's doing it, and then he kills, and then now somebody's going to tell me how to pronounce it in the comments. You don't need to do that. I'm just moving on. I need to start using smaller words for my smaller brain. And then he kills Viserys by crowning him with molten gold. She is present when Jorah Mormont foils the wine seller's attempt to poison Daenerys. Doreah remains by Daenerys' side as they raid Lazar later on, and later when Dany walks into the flames of Drogo's pyre with her dragons. In the morning, they find her with 3 newly hatched dragons. Doreah and the Khalasar kneel and renew their fealty to Daenerys. Yeah, I skipped over a lot, but she's not. After the death of Viserys in the first chapter, she's just kind of in the background. So that's why I just kind of moved through the rest of season 1 because she's in season 2. So yeah, show Qarth. Doreah continues to serve Dany as the remains of her Khalasar make their way through the Red Waste. She is fascinated with her dragons and asks what Viserys knew of them, only to be told that he knew nothing of dragons. She follows Dany to Qarth, and enter the protection of Zaro, Zoan, Doxos, who I've done a video for. Doreah and Dany watch baby Drogon, and Dany instructs him to burn the raw meat before eating it, and she says Dracarys for the first time. Doreah puts the dragon back in the cage. Dany tells Doreah that the dragon loves her. Exciting a frown from Irri. Doreah picks up a dress from the bed and asks if Dany has seen it. She tells her that Zaro had made it for her and reports hearing that he is the wealthiest man in Qarth. Dany tells Doreah that they know nothing about their hosts and suggests that men can often speak about other men when they are happy, which is like her like sneaky telling Doreah to go and seduce some of the men, right? Some of Zaro's fellow citizens to obtain more information. So she's like kind of turning into a spy here, where it's just like really subtle, but she's like, yeah, we should find out about him more. We should find out more about Zaro. So go bang some dudes and let me know. So, spy stuff. So where was I? Doreah says that Daenerys wouldn't look like a real princess if Zaro's dress. And Irri snaps, correcting Doreah that she is a Khaleesi, not a princess. They all go to Zaro's garden party. Doreah flirts with some dudes, and when they return home later, Dany's men have all been brutally murdered, and her dragons were stolen. And then she starts yelling, "Where are my dragons?" Irri lies dead on the floor, and Doreah is missing. Dany tells, did I say that twice? No, I didn't. Okay. Dany tells Jorah that she believes Doreah is dead. After Dany retrieves her dragons from the House of the Undying, she finds a sleeping Doreah a bed with Zaro, revealing that she betrayed Dany and her dragons to the conspirators, as well as being involved in the deaths of Dany's other servants. Doreah's pleas for her life fall on deaf ears as Daenerys has her and Zaro locked inside Zaro's empty vault, leaving them to die. I kind of like cut a lot of it out just because I want to keep my show recaps down to like 3 slides, 4 if I have to, and I really don't want to have to. I want to be able to do them in 3. So I kind of ran through that ending. But you guys get the point, right? She betrays Dany for Zaro, and then they get locked in a vault forever, and then I'm assuming starve to death in there. Some rough stuff. All right, let's get to the book. Doreah is a Lysene handmaiden to Daenerys Targaryen. Doreah has fair hair and blue eyes, and she is almost 20. The Lysene girl had hair color of honey and eyes like summer sky. I just like that more poetic way of saying it. Lyrium Opatus found Doreah in the pleasure house of Lys. Viserys Targaryen bettered her while he was a guest at Illyrio's manse. Doreah, Irri, and Jhiqui are given to Daenerys as wedding gifts to serve her handmaidens by her brother Viserys. Dany knew they had cost him nothing. Illyria, no doubt, have provided the girls. So is it really a gift from Viserys, right? Like, it's like, hey, I got you these 3 girls that this guy gave me to give to you. Like, did you really get them? And also they're people. Viserys tells her, these are no common servant. What should I do for Viserys? These are no common servants. Oh my God. No one's going to be able to beat the actual performance, right? So these are no common servants, sweet sister. Illyrio and I selected them personally for you. Irri will teach you riding, Jhiqui the Dothraki tongue, and Doreah will instruct you in the womanly arts of love. She is very good. Illyrio and I can both swear to that. Oh, all right. Yeah, let's not play Viserys anymore. I didn't know what to do for the voice. Later, Doreah helped the other handmaids build a fire to boil a super hot bath. So much of this early stuff is just going to be like, Doreah did housemaid stuff or handmaid stuff. And this is as good a time to you need to like stop and say, like, I don't like covering, and I've done a lot of them now, but like handmaiden characters and guard characters. And that's characters who are always there and they're just doing like simple tasks in the background, and then I have to decide, do I bring up this scene just because Jhiqui or Doreah or whoever makes a bath in it? And that's pretty much leads me to like talk about so many Daenerys scenes in this first book. And yeah, and so much of it, Doreah's barely there. Later, Doreah helped the other handmaids build a fire to boil water and take a super hot bath. Dany asks Irri if she has ever seen a dragon, since she heard that the first ones come from the east. Irri tells her that they are all gone. It is known, agreed Jhiqui. A traitor from Qarth once told me that dragons come from the moon, the blonde Doreah said, and as she warmed the towel over the fire. Dany asked, the moon? And the Lysene girl said, he told me the moon was an egg, Khaleesi. Once there were 2 moons in the sky, but one wandered too close to the sun and cracked from the heat. 1,000 dragons poured forth and drank the fire of the sun. That is why dragons breathe flame. One day the other moon will kiss the sun too, and when it cracks, the dragons will return. So this tiny little Doreah story that she heard from some random Qarthini dude is why so many moon meteor theories, pretty much all of David Lightbringer's like video is all because of that. Like his entire channel and his moon meteor theories of how I don't even know what it is now. Azor Ahai cracked this moon over and rained down dragons or whatever, moon meteors. And it's all just because Doreah just banged a dude in Qarth and he just said some goofy stuff about the moon. And yeah, there you go. And an entire channel was born. The 2 Dothraki girls of Doreah's teachings. The 2 Dothraki girls giggled and laughed at Irri, and Irri, or laughed at Doreah, and Irri calls her a foolish straw-head slave and tells her the moon is no egg. It is a god and wife of the sun. And it is known, Jhiqui agreed. Dany's skin was flushed in pink when she climbed from the tub, while Doreah brushed her hair until it shone of spun silver. She thought about the moon and eggs and dragons. Her supper was simple meal of fruit and cheese and fry bread with a jug of honeyed wine to wash it down. She invites Doreah to eat with her. She lowered her blue eyes when they were alone and said, you honor me, Khaleesi. But Dany knew it was no honor, only service. Long after the moon had risen, they sat together talking. So, yeah, she has Doreah for dinner and they just like talk all night. That night, Dany used Doreah's advice to seduce Khal Drogo, taking him outside and mounting him. Later, when Jhiqui brushed the soft swell of Dany's stomach, she, with her fingers, she said that she is with child. I know, Dany told her. It was her 14th name day. Keep in mind, Dany is literally 13 when the books start, and she's 14 when she finds out she's pregnant with Drogo's kid. Jeez. Jeez, George. What are we doing? When they arrive at the horse gate of Vaes Dothrak, they arrive at the horse gate. Vaes Dothrak was made of, oh my God. I love my really bad sentence structure sometimes. The horse gate was made of 2 gigantic bronze stallions. Dany rode next to Jorah and Viserys. Viserys could once more ride with them after Dany made him walk, and after a short time he was in a cart. It had taken much pleading and all the pillow tricks Doreah had taught her before Dany was able to make Drogo relent and allow Viserys to rejoin them on the head of the column. I'm leaving out so much, and I have a picture here, but there was a little bit where he's like, he's not allowed to be on a horse, and then he's walking and he's complaining. and then he like lets him ride on a cart, and then he's like, "That's right, I'm royalty. I'm riding on a cart," and everyone's like, "Yeah, you're riding on the cart like the luggage, like it's not a manly thing in their culture." And I find it really funny, and they all call him like the king of carts or something like that. It's some funny stuff, and I got a picture of him on a cart. Look at him, all regal. No one commands the dragon. Daenerys is met by Colio, one of Khal Drogo's blood riders, who informs her that Drogo must ascend the Mother of Mountains that night to sacrifice for his safe return. As she speaks to Colio, Daenerys recalls that the Khal's 3 blood riders are his sworn brothers who share everything with him except for horses. Daenerys is glad that Drogo does not hold to the old tradition of sharing her with his blood riders because some of them frighten her. Khal Drogo's blood rider Kotho has cruel eyes. He would leave bruises on Doreah's soft white skin whenever he touched her, and sometimes made Irri sob in the night. Geez, even his horses seem to fear him. Geez, Kotho, calm down. Doreah led her to the hollow hill that had been prepared for her and her call. It was cool and dim within, like a tent made of earth. Dany and Jhiqui run a very hot bath, and she tells Doreah to find Viserys so she can give him some gifts. Viserys was nicer to the Lysene girl than to the Dothraki handmaids. Well, so she thought, because she was arranging the last of the gifts when Viserys arrived, dragging Doreah by the arm. Her eye was red where he hit her. He asked how dare she send this sex worker to give him commands. He shoved the handmaid roughly to the carpet. Dany was surprised by his anger and asked Doreah what she said, and she just says, "Khaleesi, pardons, forgive me. I went to him as you bid, and I told him you commanded to join him to join you for supper." Viserys exclaims that no one commands the dragon, and he should have sent back her head. Yeah, like I said earlier, it's okay. You don't last too much longer. The womb of the world. The Lysene girl quelled, but Dany calmed her with a touch and tells her that he won't hurt her again. Viserys rejects the gifts harshly. Her brother goes on to ridicule her for presuming to dress him and suggests spitefully that next Dany will want to braid his hair. And Dany declares that he has no right to a braid because he has won no victories. Viserys grabs her by the arm, hurting her, and for a moment, Dany is scared like a little girl again. Then she grabs a hold of the first thing she touches, which is a medallion belt that she meant to give Viserys, and swings it at him with all her strength, which leaves a deep cut. Dany tells Viserys to leave and pray Drogo does not hear of this. Viserys leaves in a fury, telling her that when he comes into his kingdom, she will regret this day. All right, Dany eats an entire stallion heart as part of the Dothraki pregnancy ritual. I mean, you're not even supposed to be eating deli meats when you're pregnant. I'm just saying, you can't eat sushi. There's a lot. Can you eat an entire horse heart when you're pregnant? Is that good for the baby? I'm wondering. I'm curious. Eventually, they arrive at the lake called the Womb of the World, a large lake that lies just west of Vaes Dothrak and the Mother of Mountains. Here, Dany strips out of her soiled clothing and enters the lake. She cleanses her face and body of all the dried blood. Then when she emerges from the lake, Doreah brings her a robe of sand silk, but Drogo waves her away so he can have a really fast bang. Only then was Doreah permitted to drape her in the scented sand silk and Irri to fit soft slippers on her feet. That's what I'm saying. It's like so much of this, it's like in Doreah's there. Doreah tries to hand her a robe, and I had to write, a half a slide for that. I really do like this character, though, so I'm not fully complaining. This is just why I don't like handmaid or guard characters. The Western Market. Back in Vaos Dothrak during a feast in Drogo's tent, they hear Viserys is out drinking. But later in the night, Doreah tugged at Dany's elbow and whispered, "My lady, your brother." Viserys comes in drunk in rags holding a sword, and this causes an uproar leading to Viserys getting a molten gold gold crown. And there's so much more, and that scene is so important, and it's just not part of it's not so important for Doreah's story. And that's why I moved past it so fast when I was doing the show version. Now in the book version, like in Doreah's there, Viserys dies, gets his molten helmet. But yeah, it's wretched. And I sometimes I feel weird because I'm not giving credence to these really good scenes, but really they're not important for the character I'm covering. So yeah. Anyways, just want to say that quick. One morning, Drogo declares that the stallion that mounts the world will have no need of an iron chair. Afterwards, Doreah combs Dany's hair. Eventually, she gives up on Drogo, and the handmaid accompanies Daenerys when she visits the Western Market. Dany finds some garlic and pepper sauces that she really wanted and is excited to share them with Doreah and the others. Though they don't taste the same as she remembers. And at a magician's booth, Daenerys purchased a fertility charm for Doreah after the handmaid was looking at it longingly. When they talk to the wine merchant, Doreah tells him, "You have the honor to address Daenerys of House Targaryen, Daenerys Stormborn Khaleesi of the Riding Men and Princess of the Seven Kingdoms." When the wine seller attacks Daenerys, he grabs the cask and chucks it, right? So he grabbed the cask instead, flinging it at her with both hands. Jorah bowled into her to knock her out of the way, and Dany stumbled and lost her feet. Doreah caught her by the arm and wrenched her backwards, so she landed on her legs and not her belly. There you go. Like I said, like a very important scene about the wine cellar, but Doreah is literally only there to catch her at the last second. So I gotta say the whole thing. Blood magic. Khal Drogo has defeated another Khalasar, capturing a town of many captives. Daenerys intervenes when she sees Dothraki warriors assaulting a woman. After Dany's Blood Riders and Jorah go and get the group to leave, Jorah pulls the man off the girl, who turns out to be the girl is Aroa. Let's go with Aroa. And then the man attacks. He is killed. Dany tells Doreah to tend to Iroa's wounds. I don't know how to say that. Irri? I don't know. When Khal Drogo falls off his horse, this is, of course, after the cut and everything, right? So he gets a cut, and Merry Mazdur tends to it. It doesn't work out. He falls off his horse. Daenerys orders the Khalasar to halt and calls for Merry Mazdur. When Drogo's Blood Riders come up, Daenerys commands that they will halt for the day and that the slaves are to be called to erect Drogo's tent. The Blood Riders are not happy with either command, since the region is not on a camping. It's like not good for camping, and a woman cannot command. Period. Daenerys insists that Drogo will punish them if they do not obey her, and commands Kotho to find Merry Mazdur. Doreah and Irri helped Dany bring Drogo into a tent. Doreah unhooked his medallion belt and stripped it off his vest and leggings, while Jhiqui knelt by his feet to undo his laces of his riding sandals. Dany then has Doreah and the other girls get a bath going. They always getting baths going. After Merry Mazdur arrives and starts her blood magic ritual, when Kotho sees what is happening, he moves towards the tent, intending to kill Merry Mazdur and then Dany. Jorah stops him and stops him and fights him, and then the other Blood Riders and Dany's cause come to battle. Yeah, it gets hardcore. Death and the Dragons. Daenerys is hemorrhaging from the birth of her child and crawling towards the tent, screaming that the price was too high. So yeah, I'm skipping over so much of this because it's just so much, and I'm literally just trying to talk about Doreah. So yeah, if you guys remember how crazy and chaotic this scene happens when she's trying to do this thing for Jorah or for Drogo, but everyone's mad and no one wants Mary Master doing a blood magic thing. And then she kills a horse. They do all this stuff. And there's just this very chaotic scene, and it ends with her, like, as soon as they start the ritual, she starts hemorrhaging, like the life in her belly is paying for Drogo's life, right? So she's yelling, the price is too high. The Blood Rider Coholio catches her and is about to kill her when Aggo's arrow catches him in the chest. Jorah comes to assist her and tells Doreah to fetch the birthing women, and Doreah tells him that they will not come. They will not come. They say she is accursed. Jorah tells her that they'll come or he'll have their heads. Doreah wept. They are gone, my lord. When Irri says that Miri knows the secrets of birthing, Doreah agrees and then takes her into the tent. So then it all kind of ends as you know, she is inside this tent that the big blood magic ritual is going on, right? Dany wakes several times, but when she finally wakes for good, she calls for Irri, Jhiqui, and Doreah. Then come to they come to her and get her some flat water. When she asks about Khal Drogo and her son, Irri says that he lives, and then she just runs off. And then she asks Doreah, and Doreah says, I shall bring Ser Jorah, and then she like runs off. So she bows her head and flees the tent. Dany grabs Jhiqui and demands an answer, because the other two just kind of avoid it. Demands answers and learns that her son is dead. She later smothers Khal Drogo, with a pillow. Doreah washes and brushes Dany's hair in preparation of Drogo's funeral. After Drogo's death and the waking of the three dragons, like I said, I'm just skipping over it because Doreah is not important in that. But yeah, she watching the funeral pyre, three dragons hatch. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then you definitely have not watched Game of Thrones or read the books, because it's like one of the three most important things of the entire books, if not number one, right? Daenerys takes what remains of her Khalatar and marches into the Red Waste in search of a safe place, following the comet. So now the comet's in the sky, and she's like following it. Doreah warns her, what that way lies the Red Waste, Khaleesi, a grim place and terrible, the riders say. But Dany insists, and they follow the comet no matter what, right? So Doreah literally trying to get them not to go into the Red Waste is super important. So yeah, the Red Waste. Doreah's words proved true, and her people started to die. Doreah grew gaunt and hollow-eyed, and her soft golden hair turned brittle as straw. Eventually, Doreah took a fever and grew worse with every league they crossed. Her lips and hands broke with blood blisters, and her hair came out in clumps. And one evening fall, she lacked the strength to mount her horse. Drogo said that they must leave her or bind her to the saddle, but Dany remembered a night in the Dothraki Sea where the Lysene girl taught her secrets so Khal Drogo might love her more, so she gave Doreah water from her own skin and cooled her brow with a deep cloth. She held her until she died. She held her hand until she died, shivering. Oof. Only then would she permit the Khalasar to pass on. Daenerys, now Queen of Meereen. So now we're jumping super far ahead, right? So then Dany, who's now the Queen of Meereen, uses Doreah's lessons when she sleeps with Daario Naharis, and she thinks about her. And then having reluctantly reopened the fighting pits in Meereen, Dany thinks of Doreah and the other women that she has lost. There we go. really friggin' sad ending. She just gets sick and dies in a rough, really, really rough way. I like getting sick and dying that way, like in starvation like that. I don't know. That's so visceral. Okay, anyways, differences. Yay, let's move on. This was a request from FNT. I said it there. I was nervous because I hate covering handmaids and guards, like I've already said multiple times now, because so much of it is POV does something and handmaid is also there. And it was impossible to avoid that in this video. But Doreah has some real personality as well. She really does. And she dies in the second book, so it's not so bad. I will never, ever do a let's talk about the difference. Sorry, I kicked the table. I will never, ever do a let's talk about the difference for Irri or Jhiqui. Never, never. They're still around. I'm pretty sure they both are. Like, no. And I also will never do one for Missandei, even though that one is so insanely different and really interesting, because almost all of it's going to be, and then Missandei's there. And I can't do that. Kingsguard members are hard enough. All right. So the first difference is that Viserys bought her in the show, right? He literally bought her from a pleasure garden to give the Dany's. But in the book, he only sleeps with her, right? Granted, he does give her to Dany as a wedding gift, but he never paid for her. She was at Illyrio's manse, right? Also, that show only scene with Viserys is actually pretty dang good, and even though it makes up a bunch of dragon names, yeah. If you go back and watch that episode, he like makes up a bunch of dragons that don't exist. I still like it. I do have to say, out of show only scenes, that one's probably in my top 5. I would need to think about it, of course. I think War Stories is my number 1. My number 1 and my number 2 are probably just Robert Baratheon scenes, just because that actor just kills it. But yeah, War Stories is probably my number 1. Just yeah, that scene's really great. But I really like this one, that the Bass scene a lot, even though Viserys is disgusting. All right, so yeah, then of course she dies in the Red Waste, and it doesn't betray Dany to Xaro. They kind of do her dirty. In the book, she urges Dany not to follow the comment to the race, and then she does waste, the Red Waste, and she does anyways. And then Doreah has to pay for it with a really grim and horrible death, right? And then in the show, they make her betray Dany. That seems really mean. But yeah, I actually really enjoyed this character, so thank you for the request. And what is the verdict?
The book was better.
Yeah, the book's definitely better. I really hate, like, this character. I feel like Doreah gets done super dirty because she does not betray Dany in any way. She's, like, super loyal to her. She gets beat up, and then she dies a really grim death. And then they're like, let's turn her into a villain. Like, what? All right. But yeah, so definitely book was better. And besides that, I do like a lot of the changes in the earlier. I do think they nailed the character down. They almost do like what I said earlier, that egg scene, the moon scene, the moon meteor scene is almost word for word. And it's really Dany's story changes so drastically in season 2 that Doreah changes drastically once she hits season 2. So yeah, there you guys go. Thank you for watching. And yeah, that's all I got. Thank you, FNT, for the request. And I'll catch you guys later. Peace.